My name is Rowei, and now I will present the first question. So for the first question, why is decision making often described as the essence of a manager's job? So the answer is decision making is described as the essence of a manager's job because it is utilized in all four managerial functions of planning, organizing, leading, and also controlling. So these four managerial functions of all managers have the potential to affect others whether how big or small decisions are made.
Question 2. Provide an step illustration of any decision-making process undertaken by you. First, identify problem or discrepancy between an existing and the desired state of affairs. Next, identify criteria by assessing the factors that are relevant to the decision. Third, rating the criteria. In most of the decision-making situations, the criteria are not equally important. Therefore, decision maker has to give them their relative priority in decision. Then, developing alternatives. All of the alternatives that could successfully solve the problem would be listed without any attempt. Step 5 is analyzing alternatives by evaluating them against criteria. The strengths and weaknesses of each alternative become evident as they are compared with criteria and risks in step 2 and 3. Next, selecting alternatives by choosing the alternatives that generate the highest score in step 5. 7. Implementing alternatives, which involves putting the decision into action. The last step is evaluating effectiveness. Decision makers appraise the outcome of the decision to see whether the problem is solved.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shiyong, and I will be presenting question 3 and question 4. Let's see the question 3 first. Since decision making is personalized, do you think bias plays an important role for a CEO or a first line manager in a developing country? My answer is yes. I think bias plays an important role. So why? Bias are prejudices or decisions that are not fair and balanced. So, if you distort and disrupt objective contemplation of an issue by introducing inferences into the decision making process. But unfortunately, we are usually unaware of the bias that can affect our judgment. There are several most common biases, which is confirmation, selective perception, and availability. So in the next slide, we are going to explain about it. So let's see the second part of this question. Explain the potential daily bias that manager may encounter. I think the first one is overconfidence. They believe that their contribution to a decision is more valuable than it actually is. So let's take US dollar as an example. Continuously increasing in US dollar price makes manager become overconfident that price of US dollar will always increase in future. So they start buying it blindly. But suddenly the price are fall in 2014. The second one is self-serving. Blame failure on outside factor. Okay, this one let me explain further. You can think that when something good happens, it will automatically becomes an internal reason. But when something bad happens, it will automatically becomes an external reason. So you can imagine that when a manager tasked to lead a project was unwilling to see reality and was only interested in grabbing all the glory for himself, do you think it will be a major obstacle in decision making process? And the last one is immediate gratification. Making decisions that offer immediate rewards and avoid immediate costs. So this kind of decision makers who can't wait and want immediate results of their decision. They even don't care about the cost. For them, any choice that provides quick payoff is more appealing to them. We would like to discuss question 4. Managers make decisions by planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Which of these skills is more important for a manager to master in order to be a competent manager? First, we talk about planning skill. This step involves mapping out exactly how to achieve a particular goal. Say, for example, that the organization's goal is to improve company sales. The manager first needs to decide which steps are necessary to accomplish that goal. These steps may include increasing advertising, inventory, and sales staff. These necessary steps are developed into a plan. When the plan is in place, the manager can follow it to accomplish the goal of improving company sales. After a plan is in place, a manager needs to organize her or his team and materials according to their plan. Assigning work and granting authority are two important elements of organizing. For the third one is leading skill. A manager needs to do more than just plan, organize, and staff her team to achieve a goal. She must also know how to lead their team. So leading involves motivating, communicating, guiding, and encouraging. It requires the manager to coach, assist, and solve the problem with their employees. After the other elements are in place, a manager's job is not finished yet. He needs to continuously check results against goals and take any corrective actions necessary to make sure that their plans are remain on track. So now we see the second part of the questions. In my opinion, I think leading skill is more important for manager to master in order to be a competent manager. So, to become an effective manager, you must have leading skill and there are several things need to be considered. Now I just conclude the several points in a sentence. Vision will help you provide direction, set priorities, and give you a marker against which the manager and their teammates perform can be measured. The manager cannot possibly be competent in every area without being engaged in the team. So, the leader must know how each member and the team as a whole in order to bring them all together and create a process that is open, productive, and promotes confidence. Again, the team leader must understand the team's vision and clearly define the goal to guarantee success and member loyalty.
Question 5. What is intuitive decision making? In your opinion, when is this method best used? What are the major drawbacks of this managerial decision making style? Intuitive decision making means making decisions on the basis of experience, feelings, and accumulated judgment. There are 5 different aspects of intuitions, which are: first, experience-based decision. Managers make decisions based on their past experiences. Second, affect-initiated decisions. Managers make decisions based on feelings and/or emotion. Third, cognitive-based decisions. Managers make decisions based on skills, knowledge, and training. Fourth, subconscious mental processing. Managers use data from subconscious mind to help them make decisions. Last, value or ethic-based decision. Managers make decisions based on ethical values or culture. When is this method best used? First, use it to complement, not replace, other decision-making approach. Second, look to act quickly with limited information because of past experience with a similar problem. Third, pay attention to the intense feelings and emotions experienced when making decisions. Intuition plays a significant role in the choices we make. Unfortunately, working alone, intuition can be the source of significant errors in the course of making a decision. What are the major drawbacks of this managerial decision-making style? First, fraud information. Intuition decision-making will respond quickly to inaccurate, insufficient, unreliable, or incomplete information based on patterns from previous experiences. Second, short-term emotional bias. Cognitive research has shown that even expert decisions are influenced by unrelated emotions during the time of making a decision. Third, insufficient consideration of alternatives. Intuition generally relies on pattern recognition and will point to solutions that have worked well with the current perceived pattern. This will limit consider options even though you may be dealing with a new decision situation that might require a novel or unique solution. Next, prejudice. Emotions help form our intuition and can allow for experiences to overrule sound facts and evidence. Besides that, lack of openness. Every person has a different experience base that provides the platform for their intuitions. Given that one's intuition is not easily explained, it is difficult to use intuition in a group context. Last, inappropriate application. People that have good experience, expertise, and intuition in one area can become overconfident and apply their intuition in an unfamiliar or unrelated area. This also includes using rules of thumb that may not match the needs of the current decision context.
Herbert A. Simon started work on bounded rationality and satisficing because of his hypothesis, which indicated that people had limited ability to grasp the present and anticipate the future. Discuss the problem associated with making decisions using the rational model. Most of the issue and limitation associated with rational choice result from falling short of the ideal prescribed in the full rational decision-making model. Here are three areas that generate much of the concern. First and foremost, limits of human capabilities. The limits on our human ability to gather, process, and understand all the information needed to optimize a decision outcome made it impractical to meet the ideal except in very constrained or simple situations. We have limits in our ability to formulate as well as solve very complex problems. Our desire to optimize is also limited, and we usually satisfy or be content with acceptable solutions when confronted with obstacles. Next, limits on information and knowledge. The model assumes we should or can gather sufficient information in terms of quantity, quality, accuracy, and integrity. It also assumes that we have access to the required knowledge of the cause and effect relationship that are important to the evaluation of the alternative solution, particularly with respect to the projecting future consequences. Last but not least, limits in time. Search for the optimal solution will generate a delay that could negatively impact the benefit of the chosen alternative. In essence, if the decision alternatives are not properly discounted for changes due to decision timing, the chosen alternative may not be optimal.
Question 7. Explain how a manager might deal with making decisions under conditions of uncertainty. Uncertain means ones are not certain about the outcomes and can't even make reasonable probability estimates. Making decisions under conditions of uncertainty is like being a pioneer exploring a new area. An uncertainty condition provides poor information for the manager. The manager can only require as much relevant information as possible, as there is zero outcome or alternative under condition of uncertainty. Most of the times, they need to be innovative and creative in making the decision. Therefore, it is better to make decisions in group. There are diversity of experience and perspectives in group decision making. This provides more information and alternatives for the problem facing.
Why do companies invest in nurturing group decision making rather than individual decision making? Explain the advantages and disadvantages of both techniques. Individuals have a tendency to think and question before performing. This is fruitful in analysis and forecasting of individuals' behavior. Individual decision making has certain pros and cons. Individual decision making can save time, money, and energy. An individual generally make prompt and logical decisions, while a group is dominated by various people, making decision making very time consuming. Moreover, assembling group members consume a lot of time. Next, individual decision making make accountability is easier to determine. Individuals do not escape responsibilities. They are accountable for their act and performance. While in a group, it is not easy to hold any one person accountable for a wrong decision. Besides that, individual decisions are more focused and rational as compared to a group. However, individual decision making has some disadvantages. One of it is fewer ideas. A group has potential of collecting more and full information compared to an individual while making decision. Next, an individual while making any decision use his own intuition and views, while a group has many members, so many views and many approaches and hence better decision making. Individual decision making also can make identify the best individual can be challenging because a group discover hidden talent and competency of employee of an organization more easier. Group decision making, also known as collaborative decision making, is a situation faced where individuals collectively make a choice from the alternative before them. This is because all the individuals and social group process such as social influence contribute to the outcome. Have you ever heard, two heads are better than one? The more the merrier? Yes, this is the positive aspect of the group decision making. One of the advantages of group decision making is more information. A group is better equipped as far as information is concerned, while an individual cannot have all the information that is available to a group as it consists of several individuals. Besides that, group decision making has diversity of view. This is because a group always has the advantages of varied views. A group always has more than one member, and since every member is unique, there is bound to be a variety in their views also. This is also the reason why there are varied approaches to solving a problem. As group decisions tend to cover a greater area, they provide a better insight for decision making. Group decision making has greater acceptability. The views expressed by a group have more acceptance than those from an individual. This is because the decisions are not imposed, but are part of a larger consensus or general agreement. A group decision is automatically assumed to be more democratic, and the decision of an individual can be perceived as being autocratic or dictatorial. Group decision making encourages people participation. A group usually provides a platform for people to present their idea. Group dynamic is more likely to draw out participation from people who may otherwise be hesitant to talk or interact. It encourages people to take an initiative as they feel part of the decision-making process. Usually, there is no individual onus or burden in the event of failure, which makes it easier for people to come up with suggestions and solutions to problems. However, group decision-making also has some cons or disadvantages, which is time-consuming. A group involves several individuals. Getting them organized, planning and coordinating their meetings, defining and explaining to them the purpose of a meeting and the goals, and finally reaching a solution or arriving at a decision can be quite cumbersome. Making decisions in a group can, thus, be time-consuming. The time loss involved in group dynamic cannot be ignored. Besides that, individual domination is disadvantages of the group decision making. Quite often, discussions in a group are dominated by a few members. Although a group discussion means a collective discussion, some people usually manage to usurp or draw to them a positive of informal leadership owing to their personality or style of participation. This position can also be because of the position held within the organization or simply because of self-confidence generated by previous experience. Sometimes only a few individuals dominate and the others fade away in a group, thereby defeating the very purpose of group discussion. Groupthink or pressure to conform also one of the advantages of group decision making. One of the greatest inhibitor of effective group decision making, which is groupthink, is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people in which the desire for harmony or conformity result in an irrational or dysfunctional decision making outcome. By isolating themselves from outside influence and actively suppressing distancing viewpoint in the interest of minimizing conflict, group members reach a consensus decision without critical evaluation of alternative viewpoint. So, both approaches in making decisions follow the same process in decision making. However, a decision worked out by a group has a greater tendency to be more effective than that of an individual effort because it is an outcome of collective and cohesive mind. Individual decision making is best left to skilled decision maker. Yet, you might wonder, what about the day-to-day small decision that only individual himself should make? Well, these petty situations should mold you in learning to become independent with your decision.